Okay, awesome. We are recording. So we might have a couple other people that hop on and join us, but we have a decent agenda today and definitely want to hear from a lot of you. But to start for our July meeting, if you didn't read my email already from this morning, earlier today, to all of our ambassadors, I think there's just a lot of excitement about our fun little Ohio versus Michigan popcorn fundraiser challenge that we did. I mean, what a fun 5 days to quickly raise nearly $1,000. I'm really, really pumped for our team. Not only that we raised almost $1,000, but of course, it's always good to have the bragging rights when someone, challenges you to something like that, like the Michigan team did. To come out the winner always feels good, especially to that team, and state up north, as many of us say as Ohio State fans, if you are like me. So just really proud of us. We um, raised that $923.50, which means we sold over $1,800 in the popcorn. And so that check will be coming to us in about a month from Double Good, the company. And then collectively with our friends in Michigan, we raised about $1,500 total. So they had about $500 that they brought in and our 923 that we brought in. So almost $1,500 together that we raised for ACS Can. So just a lot of fun. And I want to thank all of you that helped make that possible. I know even if some of you didn't make your own pages, we were all sharing mine that I had made for us kind of on behalf of the state. And I know many of you yourselves also donated and bought popcorn. So just a huge round of applause to the whole team and all fun, right? Raising funds with our friends in Michigan. Just exciting to raise nearly $1,500 together for our mission. So thanks to everybody on the team for that. And again, always good to have good bragging rights for Ohio. I'll also say that a couple other states have done double good fundraisers like this. I saw that our friends in Wisconsin were recently doing it, Illinois, and New York. And we are the state so far to raise the most of anyone that's done a double good fundraiser. So to add on top of that, that feels pretty good, huh? So Molly Waite, our fundraising staff from ACS Can, shot me a message today and said, hey, tell that Ohio team that so far you're the most to ever raise from a double good popcorn fundraiser that she's seen. So even more bragging rights. So kudos to everybody. I'm going to pass it over to Leo for state updates, and I'll then go into federal. But I know we had a busy June, and I'm certain all of you are following along, and all of you played a major part in what we were doing through our budget bill process. So I think Leo and Javi is joining as well, are going to give us some updates.
You gonna wave? Say hi. Hi everyone. So yeah, I've got Javi with me today, so apologies in advance if there's additional background noise. But yeah, obviously June was crazy. This was a stressful budget cycle for us. It started great. Couldn't have started in a better place with the governor supporting all of our asks. And then as we went to the legislature, just constant stress and struggle, right? But I appreciate you all sticking it out, being great advocates, responding to Sarah, 5, 6 action alerts. It was a lot. You all did a lot, and we are incredibly grateful that you persevered with us through the budget cycle. So, I mean, you probably saw emails, but just to kind of a quick recap, the good, bad, and ugly of the budget. The good is that we successfully continued funding for the breast and cervical cancer project. So that was good. The bad was that we had to deal a lot with tobacco policies that didn't make sense. So, half-baked flavor ban and then preemption. The ugly was seeing the tobacco funding cut. We really expected to, at the very least, continue funding at the current level. Obviously, we advocated for an increase, but no one was expecting a decrease, and especially not an almost 50% decrease. And then the governor's veto was a huge success, right? And thankfully, we had him as a firewall to the preemption issue. Um, it's not easy to get a governor's veto. I've been doing this for 13 years, and this is my third successful veto, and two of them have been on tobacco this year, right? So that's saying a lot. Um, and so, again, I think it speaks to our credibility um, as an organization and with the voices that you all provide. So, we've been doing a lot of thank you messages to the governor, and he is hearing them and appreciating them, which is good. And he wants to continue working on this issue. He, during a press conference recently, said that if the legislature would send him a true flavor ban that included all products and all flavors, including menthol, that he would sign it. So he's really putting it on pressure on them to, actually do something, because he obviously tried to do it in the budget and it didn't work out. So yeah, now the thing for us to unfortunately have to look out for is what's called a veto override. I know some of you know what that is. Some of you have never heard of that before. I don't know how much you know of the process, so I'll explain it. Apologies if this is something you already know. A veto override is what the legislature has to do after the governor vetoes something if they want to make sure that whatever they passed becomes law. So if they want to veto preemption and keep preemption going, they have to have a 2/3 majority of both chamber. Um, the way it's worded in the state constitution is that you have to start the override in the chamber that originated the bill. So the budget bill starts in the House, so the House would have to do it first. And if they have, I believe it's 60 votes, um, and they override the veto, then the Senate has to have an override. And I think I want to say it's 20 or 21 votes in the Senate. I forget the exact number off the top of my head. But what we think is that the Senate would easily override this. When they passed the preemption amendment in the bill at the end of last year, it was unanimous amongst the Senate Republicans. And of the 33 seats, they have all but 8 seats. So they can easily override a governor's veto. The House is a little bit closer. They have 67 Republican members. During last year's preemption bill, all but 2 of them voted in favor of it. One of the 2 is no longer in the House. He termed out. So, that's going to be our biggest struggle is trying to stop it in the House. If it comes up. We have not heard officially that the House or the Senate wants to move forward with an override. But the additional struggle is that they are allowed to override a governor's veto anytime during the legislative session, the 2-year session. So we could hear of an override when they come back in September, or we could hear an override anytime between then and the end of next year, December 2024. So we will have to watch this closely and be ready to engage if it comes up, if we start hearing rumors. So yeah, any questions about that? Okay. The other things, obviously we're going to continue working on the biomarker bill and the copay accumulator bill. We might tap some of you throughout the summer if we think that there's a good strategy to request an in-district meeting with a state rep or state senator. I will let you know. I've been talking to a couple of partners about that. Our contract lobbyist and I are keeping that on our radar as a possibility. It just kind of depends on what comes up this summer before they come back to session. So if you see an email from Sarah or I, it's because you live in a district that we need to engage a legislator. But that's it from me.
Thanks,
Any
Leo.
state questions? Yeah, thanks, Leo. And again, I'll reiterate, just great job, team. And we'll be ready, right, for any potential override battle that comes our way. And just really appreciate the passion that all of you shared in those 5 to 6 action alerts that we had. And I will say that tomorrow we have our Ohio, West Virginia all staff call with our peers across the state, all of our ACS colleagues. And Leo and I are going to be doing a lot of praise and thanks because the staff team truly also really supported our efforts and engaged with us. Our peers, just like you all, were right there filling out the action alerts, and we're just very fortunate in Ohio, West Virginia as a team to have such great support from our ACS colleagues. And so I know so many of you have seen that, based on the attendance we had at Cancer Action Day, back in April with our ACS friends, but just really appreciative of everything they've done too to really help us with these alerts and through the support. So Leo and I will definitely be recognizing and thanking them tomorrow on our staff call because it's a dual effort for all of us. And so kudos to the entire team, truly, on that second veto from Governor DeWine with preemption. So kind of going into federal updates, not a ton, but some good things have happened since we were all together in June. We're continuing to push for our multi-cancer early detection act on getting co-sponsors. I know I did a shout out. We had 2 targets from the House side of Congress, Lada and Kerry. And I know, Julie, I just wanted to reiterate my shout out from my email updates that we did successfully in Julie's district get Kerry as a target, as a co-sponsor of MSED. And that's a huge win, especially with Julie just joining that district in her redistricting. So just starting to really chip away at building that new relationship with Kerry's office. Julie, do you kind of want to share how that went and just give some updates? I know it was a hard one, but exciting for us to see his co-sponsorship.
Yeah, it was. I started off with emails and then I posted on social media a number of times, made some phone calls, and I just didn't seem like I was getting anywhere. And just all of a sudden, he was on. And from that action, I have a connection in the DC office. I talked to her last Friday, and it just seems like we're on the same wavelength now. And by the way, Amanda and Kyle are both in my district as well.
Huge win. I think the moral of the story is keep at it, right? I know Julie would send me some texts about not getting responses, and I would say, well, maybe add a photo to your next email so they can see your face, add some personalization about why they're not getting back to you, and maybe that will kind of push them a little bit more to finally respond. So I would just urge everyone, as we are making outreach to our congressmen and women, and if you have a target and I reach out to you, similar to Pam niece working in District 5 with Lada as a target, and Julie, doing that outreach to Kerry, I think just keep at it is really the moral of the story there, and just really exciting for us. The next effort that has really ramped up on the Fed side is PSA for him. We have it introduced in the House. They're actively working on the Senate. We were thinking maybe it would already be done and introduced in the Senate. We're hearing the hope is by the end of the month, before they go to August recess. So here in the next couple of weeks, we should see PSA for him also introduced in the Senate. So I will update everyone as soon as we hear that, because then we can all, as an Ohio team, be working on our congressmen and senators. So a lot to come there. but nothing on MSED in the Senate yet, still just the House. PSA still in the House, but active plans for the Senate. The next big update, I know last month Vince got to share the really great opportunity that he had to attend the palliative care lobby day on behalf of ACS CAN. It was not hosted by ACS CAN, but we did have a good chunk of representatives from select states that were able to go as part of the coalition, and Vince was selected in Ohio. That was officially introduced. The goal that the team has been doing, many of you who have been involved over the years know that palliative care and our Pachita bill it's been something we've been actively working on a long time. And it's always generally House and then the Senate. So they did try to take a new strategy. With there being more of a struggle in the Senate, the intention after the lobby day was to try to introduce it in the Senate first, just as a new strategy. And so it has officially, as of July 11th, last week, was introduced in the Senate. And we are, hoping that we'll hear from the Fed team some strategy. So if we start to get some targets, or if they're, wanting any outreach from us, I will let you all know. But that's kind of hot off the press, just introduced in the Senate on July 11th. So we could have some next steps for us to work on when it comes to palliative care as well. So those are the most recent things that have been happening. We also are gearing up for our trip to DC for Leadership Summit and Lobby Day. We have 13 of us from districts because we have 2 open districts in 6 and 8, not filled with volunteer representation. We'll have 13 districts of our 15 represented going to DC in September. And we're also really lucky that this year, both the SLA and Vice SLA are invited beyond the district invites, as well as our national NAT team. So we will have Lorna joining for the NAT, which is great. So an additional invite from Ohio. Pam, thanks for putting your note in the chat. Speaking of palliative care, being introduced in the Senate, we did see an immediate co-sponsorship from Senator Brown. And I want to definitely highlight Vince for that effort because last month, as he was sharing, he really did make a big connection with Senator Brown's staffer. And I know he had shared that. If you weren't on last month's call, hopefully you can watch the recording and hear from Vince firsthand, kind of on that experience going to lobby day. I think Vince is in the car and had to call in tonight because he's traveling. So Vince, I don't know if you want to add some excitement to that, but I know that's something you were closely monitoring and is an additional huge win having his support.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you because I didn't know how it would be in the car. But when the bill was introduced, I did send a message to Francis Goins, who's his health aide. And I want to say a day and a half later, we saw the sponsorship come through. Not saying it was because of the email, but that was a pretty safe bet, frankly, because he's co-sponsored it the last 2 times. So we were anticipating this one. The good thing is there are more Republicans than Democrats that are co-sponsoring right now. So I am aiming my focus back to Senator Vance's office.
Absolutely. And as we get any of those resources, as I mentioned, if they really do actively send anything, I will make sure that everyone gets that from the state level so we can target JD Vance and continue to try to aim for more sponsorship. And as we gear up for Leadership Summit and Lobby Day in the next 2 months, those of us that will be going, I'm certain they might add palliative care in addition to PSA for him and MSED and the funding ask as part of our intentions and our asks. So more to come there, but we're really seeing some good success in ramping up with our federal work here through the summer and prepping for those in-person meetings at Lobby Day in September. Any questions or additional thoughts about the priorities federally? And then we'll kind of jump into some more LSLD and Lights of Hope efforts. No? Well, also part of that leadership summit and lobby day and our trip to DC in September will be the element of course, our fundraising with Lights of Hope. So I did want to share today's update. We get Monday reports, as I think I've kind of mentioned in some of our calls. So I can give you our most recent numbers as of this morning's report. Across the state, we've raised nearly $20,000. We're right at 19,672. And so we're about 47% to goal. I will mention that we have finally, for the first time, sadly, seen a decrease year over year in our numbers. We had been trending pretty much all the way until now ahead year over year. We are just slightly down, -7%, as a state compared to where we were last year. But as far as comparing us to other states, that is what's looking like to be kind of a trend. So I'm not, too concerned for all of us. I think it just amplifies that through July and August, I know a lot of our efforts for Lights of Hope will really start to ramp up. But by comparing to other states, we are obviously always closely watching California and Florida and our other states where we have some of our, most stiff competition when it comes to our Lights of Hope fundraising. We're just $2,300 short of California right now. So I do think that that's something for us to watch and always keep in mind. And so we are just barely over Florida, which is a shift from last month. They were just a little bit ahead of us. So that number 2 spot between us and Florida, we know is going to be a big competition, and we are very close on the tails of California. Like I said, just 2,300 off. So those of you that do have Lights of Hope pages, I think there are 22 of us. It's still not too late if you would like to still make a page and join us. And for those of us that are really actively working on that, I wanted to show a couple resources that are on the Google Drive just as reminders, and then kind of talk about what we do over the next 2 months. So if you haven't been to our Google Drive, I do share that link in our Friday updates. The biggest things I think to make sure you see are some guidebooks, and that is the first one being this sponsorship document that they made. It is step-by-step. For those of you that have actively been seeking sponsors, which I know has been a hot topic for us in our last 2 months of monthly calls, this tells you exactly what to do if you secure a sponsor. And this is our Sponsorship Now What guidebook. And so I do know a couple of you have sent me emails and texts about some sponsors you've just had commit. So this tells you, what form to fill out to track the sponsorship and collect the funds appropriately. If they are giving you a check directly, it tells you how to mail it and how to batch that check correctly, getting it sent to our DC office appropriately, and then making sure that we're recognizing those sponsors depending on the level of sponsorship that they give. I think that this is a really clear, easy document that I wanted to highlight. And of course, I'm happy to support you in any way as you are getting some funds from sponsors throughout this process. So we are seeing a lot of success in getting new sponsors. I know in one of our recent updates, emails, I highlighted Jody Carr securing a brand new $2,500 sponsor from her financial advisor at Morgan Stanley in Cincinnati. That is a huge win. And I think that that just shows that coming from our meeting last month, a lot of you were talking about some success that you had going to your insurance agents, your financial advisors. Vince, I know, had mentioned car repairmen. Julie went to a fun little location here in the Dayton-ish area called Young's Dairy. It's a family-owned business, and they sponsored Julie at $200, if I recall. Don't leave out those small businesses, and our sponsorships are such a array of amounts from that, smaller, more small business friendly amount all the way to the larger 2,500 and above levels. I think what's really fun, and Jody, I can let you speak to more, is that if I think correctly and recall, you didn't really go in with a particular ask, right? So I think you were pretty stunned when you gave your sponsorship packet to your financial advisors at Morgan Stanley, that they then emailed you and told you they were interested in that $2,500 amount. So you just never know. And I think
That
it's
is
all
so
about
true.
asking.
I really didn't know what to expect, and I'm not afraid to ask. And if that's the one thing I can share at this meeting, is that I was shocked that they came back at that level. I didn't want to put any pressure on that relationship. You know, how it would feel to them being a national event, and what is our local display going to be? We've never had an event here in Cincinnati, so how many people are going to be there? So it was very exciting, and I love that sponsorship sheet. Just have that in hand, because I just feel like it really does spell everything out very clearly, and it makes presenting or asking so much easier.
And Jody, since you're new to this sponsorship thing, this Young's Jersey Dairy is a great place. Tom's son works there. I didn't even know that. But they just jumped on at $200. And when I went there and said I was going to post these things on social media, they were so pleased. I'm also, and Tom, you might want to join me in this as well, I'm going to get a Young's Jersey Dairy t-shirt and take a photo in Washington, D.C. So if you have a sponsor that might think that's pretty cool, you can steal that.
That's
Love
a
it,
great
love
idea.
it, love it.
How fun. Good idea. So I think keep at it. I know we've got a lot to go, about halfway to our goal. And I'm just so proud of our team for all of the ways that you're chipping away at that goal for Lights of Hope, and just our overall total, adding this new nearly $1,000 from our Double Good popcorn fundraiser. I'm very confident that we'll keep aiming towards that, and just really excited. But if you have things you're working on, please keep sharing them with me so that we can spotlight them in our weekly emails, in these meetings. Let Pam, Vince, and I know what you're working on so we can help support you. And if there's documents that you need, if you need Lights of Hope bags, I can directly order them and ship them to you. And so please let us know how we can help you and what you are working on, so we can make sure that we're sharing that with the federal team and getting all of our sponsorship tracked correctly, and getting all of our recognition ready for DC and at-home displays. So that's kind of what I wanted to shift into next, was the local displays. For those of you that do have pages and are working on actively kind of activating around Lights of Hope, I'd love to hear what you're planning on doing. It can be as simple as putting the bags out on your back porch and taking a photo, going to social media and tagging your donors, all the way to larger scale displays. I know that Tom has a date for his in Springfield. Julie and I are actually going in together in the Dayton area to combine, do an event at a park here in downtown Dayton. I know that Jody and Leah are going to do a new first time display, joining each other together in the Cincinnati area. Any others, some efforts that you're working on? I think Leo just said, as far as being our GRD, he's going to do a display at his house in his backyard. Anything else that people are going to be working on when it comes to, for any of you that are doing Lights of Hope fundraising, ways that you're going to display? And if you have a date, please send it to me, because I'd like to make a spreadsheet that I could share with our whole team of dates in case any of us wanted to drive to each other's events. I know I also have Vince's date that he does for his event at his home. Anyone else working on efforts and any displays that will be coming up in August or September, or whenever you plan them?
I'm trying for North Royalton. I sent a letter, have not heard back from it. Now that I'm back in town for a while, I will follow up with them in the next few days to see if I can get anything there. If not, at the very least, it'll be on my street again.
I love it. You know, a thought I had, Barb, for any of our friends up north in the Cleveland-ish area, what about the Hope Lodge? How cool would it be if we could talk to the staff at the Hope Lodge and do a display there, especially with the recent groundbreaking of their expansion and some of the big excitement that we have on the ACS side with that expansion at the Cleveland Hope Lodge. I know that I think Kara, the staff there, would be willing to probably talk to us about something creative that we could do at the lodge.
That's a good idea. I just made a note of it.
Just something special and unique,
Okay.
maybe,
No, that's a great idea.
between
Barb,
you,
if you wanna
and
work on-
Christy. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey,
I didn't mean to interrupt. It's Christy.
Hey, Christy.
Go ahead.
Hey, I'm sorry I got on late. I had to work late at the clinic, but I just wanted to say that I'm going to set up I don't have a date yet, but I'm going to set up a display at the clinic where I work.
I love that
I
idea.
I couldn't, the James wouldn't allow me to have families be donors, but I'm going to put a display in every break room, and our building is 12 stories. So I'm going to put information about the Lights of Hope in each break room, and then ask if the nurses would be willing to donate for family members or for the clinic as a whole. And then we're going to put the display outside of the clinic.
That's super special too. Love that idea. Vince,
Well,
was
I
that
have a
you?
question
Barb?
about that. That is a great idea. And I'm sorry, I don't have internet, so I'm doing this on my phone, so it's really awkward. So I apologize, everyone. But so is it appropriate or okay to go to like the cancer treatment center that's here in Anderson Township and ask them, or is that inappropriate?
Christy, of course, is an employee, so it's probably a little easier for her, right? Having
Yeah.
relationships already.
Well,
But
it's easier and harder because you can't cross the lines of like you can't. I don't know what the business partners terminology was, but basically you can't ask for donations and ask for that from family members and patients as they're coming in to be like cared for. It just crosses the lines of what we want to do with our patients. But what my marketing director told me was that I could definitely ask nurses. So it makes it better for me because I can be in the building and ask for help from the staff that's in the building, because everybody has the same interest in mind, and that's caring for cancer patients. But I was hoping that I could ask families and put like a brochure at the front desk when people checked in, and they said, no, that is not, like, I could not do that. So I don't know, Jody, it may make it easier for you to be able to ask people coming into the clinic because you're not an employee. So it's not like you're going to get fired by doing that. You know, you could put something outside of the clinic, a big sign or something like that, but I'm not allowed to do that. So
Okay.
I don't know if that
That's
answers your
very
question or
helpful.
not.
That's very helpful.
Hey, Jody, I know I watched the news last night, and I know that soccer in Cincinnati is like booming because of this new player, Messi. Is that right? Mesa
Yes.
or something like that?
Yes.
Well, wouldn't
Cincinnati
it be really?
is on fire right now, people.
Yeah, I hear you. So if you could get him at the soccer stadium to just take a few pictures with you, or if you have a connection with a Reds player or a Bengals player, that would be really cool too.
now Julie's thinking big, big.
Mm.
I know. I like it.
Pulling out all the stops. Hey, I mean, yeah, the Reds are on fire right now. There is some good stuff happening in sports in Cincinnati. dream big.
I
I
will-
like it.
For sure, for sure.
I will donate so much money to anyone's Lights of Hope if they can connect with Messi.
I know Leo's a big soccer fan.
That sounds
I
like a
was gonna
challenge.
say-
I'm working on it already.
Oh, good, Jody. You get him. Ride your horse in the
Messi's-
streets of Cincinnati.
Messi's out of Miami, you guys. Messi lives in he's out of Miami. He plays in Miami. It
Yeah,
might be
he's in
difficult,
Miami.
and he's like a king in his country. So if somebody can get him, that'd be
That'd be a
huge.
huge win.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. Hey, like I said, not bad to dream big and get creative and have fun. I love hearing all of your ideas and what you're working on and the type of displays. So just keep that information rolling our way. And I'll share the dates that I do have from across the state from those of you that have sent it in. And then again, if you're doing home displays, just let me know that too. So I kind of want to keep track of all of our efforts so we can support each other and keep each other in the loop on what we're working on. So keep up all of the amazing work and all of the creative ideas. It's awesome to see where we're going, and I'm confident we can get to that goal over the next couple of months. So just keep chipping away, and if you have questions or need any support, and if you need any resources like bags, please let me know, and I can get things like that ordered for you. And make sure that you're prepared for any of your displays that you'll be working on coming up in August and September. Any thoughts or questions about Lights of Hope?
I have one more quick question. For those of you
Sure.
who've done the local displays on your own, I was just thinking recently about logistics because I actually am going to create Lights of Hope bags for 2 corporate sponsors that I have, even though they weren't necessarily interested in using all of them. I want to create a more impactful display since it's our first year doing it locally. So I have some high schoolers that are going to volunteer to decorate that large number of bags for me. So that's awesome. But logistically, how have you, like, if I have 300 bags, did you put a candle in all 300 bags, and how long did it take to light those? And, the logistics of it, how do those of you that have experience with it, any suggestions or tips while I'm planning this?
Tom? We had 300 bags last year, didn't we?
Easily.
Yeah.
Get your family to help you out, sign them up, say, meet me down there. We kind of had an assembly line going where someone would set the bag up, and then as far as weights, Julie turned me on to using sand inside of sandwich baggies, Ziploc sandwich bags. And then, last year we did both candles and glow sticks. The candles are brighter. Glow sticks might be easier. We did have a few bags go up in flames if it's windy. Yeah, just grab anybody you can that's willing to give you some helping hands. And buy extra lighters that have the long extension on them.
When I did mine 2 years ago, I had 500 that I set up, and I had some friends come over. Robin helped, and my husband helped, and a couple other friends helped, and we set them up. And I went to my local grocery store and asked for a donation of canned goods. So instead of for the weight, and then I donated the canned goods. And Vince does the same thing. And then you donate the canned goods to a food bank. And I have used glow sticks, and I have used the battery operated lights. And the battery operated lights work better than the glow sticks because the glow sticks are last minute. You have to break them and use them. You can't do them in advance. So if you're setting up a large amount, you can't break it and put it in, but you could turn on your candle and put it in and not have to worry about it. As the evening got darker, they would be glowing as the sun went down.
Barb, were your canned goods donated by a local grocery? Because I've reached out to a couple, and because we are not a 501c3, that's an issue. I don't even get in the door if I can't say I'm a 501c3.
Well, they were donated by a Giant Eagle, which is, I don't know if you guys have them out on the west side of the state or not. They're a chain, and it was a manager's decision to donate a bunch. They were all gravy cans, store brand gravy cans that had about 2 months left on their expiration date. So they weren't going to be able to sell that many in 2 months because there was nothing coming up a holiday like Thanksgiving or anything like that at that point in time. But the food bank was thrilled with them.
Mhm.
So that worked out. So
So the-
it can be hard because we're not 503Cs. But if you look at them and say, hey, got anything like close to expiring that you just want to write off? You know, we're not looking for you to take it as a deduction, but just write it off and give it to us.
Vince, were
food
you
bank-
gonna jump
Yeah.
in?
Yeah, I was. The local Akron grocery chain, Acme, gives me a gift card, and I go in shortly before the event and get the cans to hold up to hold the bags in place. I also cheat and make my Lights of Hope event a gathering. So I have the bags there. I have markers. I've had other things there, and people will bring photos and put them on, but everybody comes and decorates their bags. This year, like last year, I'm going to do it at Stewart's Caring Place. Before, I was doing it at my house and have tables and stuff. That was just too much work. But everyone comes. I have food and drink. People get together. They see each other. They decorate the bags. We all put them out. My kids kind of lead the charge in getting the candles set. And everyone, I have about 10 lighter sticks that we light the candles and kind of make it just an evening.
Love it. I will say that I know Lauren also uses the tea lights. That way she can keep them and reuse them in future years. You know, that is one small perk to the tea light is that you can buy them and then reuse them maybe a year or two. And so that's a good investment sometimes too. I will say that I bet if you posted for friends and family to also help you collect canned goods, I know I'm that random person that probably has got some canned goods that have been sitting in my pantry. Just a thought, you know, maybe if you did want to try to go that route, you could ask for your friends and family to throw you some cans that they'd be willing to contribute if you don't find success. But the gift card is an interesting route that you mentioned, Vince, because I do know Costco has a process for where you can go on their site and request gift cards. So I didn't even think about that direction where then you could use that gift card to buy canned goods. So maybe that's a new angle, Julie, you know, a way to think about it is asking for a gift card donation, which a lot of chain stores are more willing maybe to contribute.
And to Jody and Leah and Christy, when Tom and I were involved in the Relay for Life in Clark County, we had Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts that would come and set up. They have to get community credit. And we've also had Brookville High School students who also have to get community service credit help on these kinds of things that just take more manpower.
And I'm happy to help if people ever ask for signatures for any of those volunteer hours. I know I have filled out some forms for youth, like Brookville High School students, if they need that documentation from the ACS CAN staff, you know, to confirm their hours. Please let me know if I can help support that. But that is a great idea for some extra volunteers to help you throughout your efforts as you're all planning what you might create as far as displays. And again, my hope is if I get all of your dates and plans on what you're doing, we can all support each other as well. And some of us drive to help go to each other's events and be there to lend a helping hand and support each other. So if you haven't sent me your details as you start to confirm them, please do. And I can make sure that that's part of our updates and that we're all aware of what our efforts are and can help each other out. Any other questions or thoughts and exciting plans for Lights of Hope efforts? One element to wrap us up on this topic, want to share for those of you that will be coming to DC for Leadership Lobby Summit and Lobby Day, you'll be a part of getting to see this in person. But for everyone that won't be, I promise we will make sure to take lots of photos and make this a special element. But something new that the team is doing from the National ACS CAN staff side, as far as that display goes, they're doing what they're calling these state monument pillars. They're essentially life scale displays of a Lights of Hope bag. And they've asked each state to nominate a story to highlight so that each state, as you're walking the display, it'll be easy to recognize that, oh, this is Ohio's section with all of our bags, and then on to the next state. So each state will have one of these life-size monument displays. And we did have to think of the individual that we would want to remember or honor. And I just wanted to share that on behalf of Ohio. I did talk just internally with myself, Pam, and Vince as SLA and Vice SLA. Given the circumstance and I know many of you know her personally over the years, we did internally decide that we wanted to recognize Jill McFarland and her battle that she's currently facing. There was some unfortunate news that she recently shared on her social media that her cancer has spread. And the plan is that Jill could be joining us in September to represent District 14. Of course, we want to give her the grace and understanding, given this news, that if she's not able to make it physically, that we'll have maybe another invite for District 14. But regardless, Jill is going to be there with us, and she will be who we honor as a state for our first display. And this will be something they do throughout the years moving forward. But we are very honored that Jill was okay with us when we came to her to ask to allow us to honor her. So that will be a very special moment. And I'm really looking forward to being able to share that with all of you, pictures and such. And we're just grateful to Jill for everything she's done and all the passion that she brings to our team and in her fight. Pam, I think your hand's up. Julie as well.
Chuck has some photos of Jill participating in the past at Leadership Summit and Lobby Day. Would it be helpful if you had some of those?
They actually asked us when we went to the individuals to write the story about them, because it won't only just have their name, it will have an image and then a story. We had to get that approved, of course, by the individual or the family if it was someone we've sadly lost. And they asked us to have them submit a photo that they were interested and comfortable with submitting. So Jill has actually given us the photo that she'd like us to utilize. But that's a great offer. Thanks, Julie.
I just wanted to comment that I have never seen anybody so moved at a Lights of Hope display as Jill was last year. I had to drag her away from the display so we didn't miss all the buses.
That's even more special then to know. Thanks for sharing that, Pam. So keep Jill in your thoughts, everyone. And again, I'm just grateful to her and her family for allowing us to honor her as our first time doing this. And there will be more to come. I know this is an element that they want to continue as far as the Lights of Hope display is concerned there in DC, but wanted to make sure I shared that with the team, and we'll make sure everyone is a part of that when we are there in DC. Well, to wrap us up for the last few minutes, I really wanted to hear from all of you if you had any questions or thoughts about things that you're working on as ambassadors. We have been busy over the last few months, and that's not going to slow down. So you might have saw that I'm wearing my Pan Ohio shirt today. That's in honor of the crazy week that's about to come ahead for many of us. The Pan Ohio Hope Ride is about to travel from Cleveland to Cincinnati. I know many of you will be across the state doing some tabling. Of course, all of you know that used to be the event I staffed before becoming your grassroots manager. So for the first time, I'm actually going to be participating and not staffing the event. So send me all of your positive energy, as my butt's going to have to sit on a bike for 95 miles on Saturday, and hopefully I make it from Columbus to Dayton. And just really excited to be a part of that on the participant side, and thank those of you that will be out there at kickoff, water stops, the dinner Saturday in Dayton. I know Julie and maybe Tom will be there. What other big things do you have coming up? I think we've had a lot of invites from some of our other ACS events, like kickoffs for Making Strides are coming up in August. We've got a couple golf events, I think, where some of you were invited to attend and table. What else is happening out there, and any thoughts from you on what you're working on out in your communities as ambassadors? Want to hear from you to kind of wrap up our call tonight. I know you're working on stuff. Who wants to go first?
Carolyn, you're muted, dear. Uh-oh, now she's frozen. Oh, there she is. You're still muted, Carolyn.
Well, Julie, I'm going to call on you. I know you got some things. I know you'll be at Pan Ohio, but what else maybe are you working on? You've got a orientation, right?
Yes, I am lucky enough to be invited each month to the new staff training, nationwide staff training for American Cancer Society folks, and I get to initiate them on exactly what the Cancer Action Network is and how we work together. And I have probably done 6 or 8 of them, and they have been so supportive. And they initially gave me 30 minutes, and with questions that seem to go on forever, it's an hour and a half that I'm in Cincinnati. So it really fills my cup.
And I know Jody's filled in for one of those for you, and Leah's going to be joining you for July's, right, this week?
Yes.
So that's great too. Leah Davidson getting to join you to talk to some of those new staff. Where else are people going, or what events are you working on?
This is Pam, and we have the Worcester Worcester overnight for Pan Ohio. That's getting tricky right now. We don't have the greatest communication going on, and we're looking for volunteers. If you've got anybody in the area, even if they'd want to drive to Worcester, it's a beautiful college. Some other confusion is that they renovated the student center last year, so we were elsewhere on the campus, and now we're back at the student center. So just putting in a bid for that. And then, excuse me, next month I have a community fair, Green Local Schools. I've done that for a number of years now. And then also my Pride event will be next month too.
Yes, Akron Pride. Yeah, I think Barb and Vince are currently signed up also to join you there for Akron Pride. Barb, I just saw your email about Pan Ohio too. I'm getting on to my people. Don't worry, Pam and Barb both. I'll shoot you some messages on the side and try to help out as best as I can.
I just went on the book for the event and found out the information for the kickoff. So I should be good. I've got the time and everything in place, so I should be good on that one.
I'll shoot you an email too with some other thoughts.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Again, another bid for volunteers in Worcester on Thursday. I'm a little old to be wheeling around that luggage and getting it to the rooms. I've done it before in the heat and I don't like it.
It is tough. Weather's looking better for this year and not as hot for this weekend. So I'm
I know, but we
keeping my
might have
fingers
storms in
crossed.
Worcester. We might have storms. We've got a
I
good
know.
chance at the moment.
Positive thoughts. What other things are people working on? Tom, do you have any other First Fridays coming up, or August will be the next one, right? And that'll be your display for
Yeah, that's our
springtime?
display. One other thing that Tracy Tackett, she's also a Clark County advocate, former ACS staff partner, currently running for city commission. She has agreed the night that we're having the display in Springfield. It's downtown Springfield has First Friday events, and it brings out big crowds. And the new bar that's inside the Cohatch building, right outside, the building is right near where we put up our display. She's going to be a celebrity bartender in there, and all of her tips will go to ACS Camp.
Amazing. Very
Extra.
cool. That's cool to hear. I love that.
I have to jump off. I have another call, so I will see you guys.
Good to see you, Barb.
So Sarah, I have something I got today. My son brought this over because he was having trouble. We had terrible smoke today.
Oh no.
So it's a can of oxygen. He says,
I need that for Pan Ohio.
yeah, it says you can use it for aerobic performance, recharge and recover, altitude and poor air quality. But it's just not, it's not, he said, don't worry, you won't get high from it.
Boost oxygen. Hey,
Yeah.
good suggestion.
I think he got it at the drugstore. I don't know where he got it, but
Wow.
yeah.
Too funny. Well, any others, things you're working on or events you're doing out in the communities across the state?
I have a Strides kickoff in August 16th, I believe.
Yeah, and I know you'll be at Cincy Golf. We've got some other, golf and Strides efforts. I know Jody, Leah will be at some Cincy Strides things coming up too. Well, any questions?
Yeah, I
that
forgot
anyone
about
might
that.
have?
And I'm doing
Go ahead.
the golf and the strides. I think that's all at the moment I'm signed up for, but I could be wrong.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And I wanted to tell you guys, I went to Springfield's Friday event and hoped that I would see you guys there. I looked for you last Friday with my aunt, and it was so much fun.
Were you out there, Tom, last Friday?
I have to unmute here. I was not out there. I wish I had known you were
The
coming.
one?
I would have
Yeah.
been somewhere.
It was super last minute, or I would have texted you, but but anyways, I did walk around, and it is a cute event. What a great great place to do your display. Like super, super cute.
Well, if no one has any other thoughts or questions, really appreciate everyone's efforts. Let's keep our foot on the gas pedal for our fundraising. Thanks again for all you've done with the successful popcorn fundraiser and all of your Lights of Hope efforts. Really looking forward to your representation at all of these events that you just mentioned. If you are planning any other events, let me know. Please just keep me in the loop again, so we can make sure it's included in our weekly updates and future meetings. But great to see you all as always and appreciate your time. And again, just ask that you keep in touch if you need any kind of support. Shoot me, Vince, or Pam, or any other fellow advocates an email. And again, just have a good rest of your night and good to see you guys.
Okay,
And
well,
please
my
send
brownies
me
are done and they're smelling good.
energy. Brownies. Jealous. Jealous. Well, thank you all. Have a good rest of your night. Please keep me in your thoughts Saturday. Send the good energy.
Good luck,
I'll,
good luck.
I'll make sure to share
Thanks, Sarah.
pictures.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, guys.